Thank you, Mark, so much for joining me today to talk about your experience with the 30-day challenge. You've actually done this twice so far, which really says a lot. But before we dive in, how are you feeling right now compared to before you even started this journey?
I'd say more self-aware in terms of how my body reacts to food that has sugar in it. Definitely have more energy.
More energy. Very good. That's exactly what it's supposed to help with. What made you come back to try this a third time?
I see the value in leaning into working on my health, how I eat. I think we all work on sleep, exercise, but the food piece is, for me, critical for energy. I feel like if I don't eat well, I can't perform well personally or professionally. I find that eating well, eating good food makes the difference in how I show up.
How are you showing up more now?
One of the most surprising things from doing the challenge and removing sugar from my diet is clarity of thought. Having ADHD and feeling a little scattered sometime, I find that by having a solid base for food allows me to work on projects. I design, develop workshops. It allows me to have longer meetings and not get distracted as much. I don't feel jittery from some of the food I had been eating.
Wow. You mentioned some things that you're able to do now mentally. What about emotionally? How has it affected your ability to emotionally regulate?
Initially, when I was doing the first challenge, I had a dependency on foods that had sugar. It was like a reward. As I went through that process in the second one, it allowed me to not have that emotional attachment to food as much because that was a big stumbling block or barrier for me, using food as a reward, especially after a stressful day. So it's helped me with emotional regulation.
Beautiful. And how did your energy show up as far as your ability from start of your day to the end of your day?
I felt like I didn't have as many crashes. But potato chips, sweet food, processed food, I get a little bit of a high. It would be like jumping off a cliff. So it allowed me to modulate my energy throughout the day and my productivity. I also slept better.
Oh, that's really good. You're talking about all the things that I tell people what will actually happen. So this is very confirming. What did you learn specifically about cravings that you may not have understood before?
They are more addictive than you think they would be. People talk about cell phone addiction and things like that. I think the cravings can be just as intense and sometimes they're subtle. I'm aware of them and not always willing to give them up. I know that I was not 100% perfect, but I feel like I've gotten much better.
Excellent. What was one of the foods that you totally loved that was one of the hardest to give up during the challenge?
I think cookies, I like cookies. My son likes cookies. So I think part of it's being in a household where not everybody's on board with sugar-free meals. Cookies was one of the main ones.
And how were you able to circumvent that craving for cookies to something else?
I was able to partition the cookies so that I still gave my son cookies, but I started eating dates. Sometimes I would eat fruit like an apple or peanut butter on celery. Eventually, I was able to use that as a snack. Not 100%, but it's much better than it was.
Excellent. Was this as hard as you thought it was going to be?
I think it was harder.
It was harder.
Um,
And then you said,
yeah, it was harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought when you have set your mind to it, I'm dedicated to self-improvement. So I think that it was more challenging than I thought. And it was a bit of a learning curve. But over time, it's gotten a bit better. I think that self-awareness piece helps with that. But it had been pretty challenging initially.
okay, thank you for sharing that. So, what's different now in how you think about food compared to before you started the challenges?
I think of food as a necessity and opportunity to nourish yourself versus a reward or a hobby. It's something that I do because I'm bored or I need a fix. That's one of the mind shifts that I've leaned into.
What kept you motivated to continue on for the 30 days?
I believe that all ships rise. I like to exercise. I try and sleep well, not 100%. Because I've been working on that, that allowed me to also work on that because I wanted to be consistent. I'm not always consistent, but I'm committed. So over time, I was able to stick with it because I was working on other areas of my life and because I could notice some difference over time. Thank you for that piece of it. That was helpful.
Yeah, what you're speaking to is once you start it and notice the benefits, that intrinsically keeps people motivated
Yes.
because they want to see more of the same benefits or even greater benefits. Appreciate you sharing that. So, if somebody were on the fence right now about joining the next challenge, what advice would you give them?
I would say if you're willing to invest time in your job, you're willing to invest time in earning money in different ways, why not invest in yourself? It's like putting money into a bank account, but investing in a health bank.
It's an investment really within yourself. You get better sleep, better focus. You can show up more alert. Is there anything else am I missing here?
I think you learn resilience and you learn how to be able to deal with some of the challenges that come up when you're eating processed food, the sugar food. You learn how to push through it more
Mhm.
effectively.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mark, for participating in this short interview today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I just think it's about progress, not perfection. I'm looking forward to the next round. So
Excellent. I'm so happy to have you in the upcoming challenge because I know that by you having done this before, you can be quite an inspiration to the folks who are doing it for the first time.
thank you.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
that.
that.
Yeah. All right. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the challenge.
Yes. See ya. Thanks, Terry.